Good morning, good afternoon, greetings and salutations, good evening. Today we have the amazing Dr. Eva Porras. And Eva joined us originally in July 2021 on our very first podcast that we did with Shenvu, Spain, but she also came back to have a chat with us in September 21. And Dr. Eva Porras has a PhD in finance and is the managing director of Smart Ledger, but she is also a researcher. And I think this is where she says she excels because she loves researching. So she's the co-author of a paper called Bitcoin and Ethics in a Technological Society, which you can find in the description of each of our videos. But also today, Eva is here to talk about her paper, which is on decentralized blockchain for autobiographical memory in cognitive robotics, which you can also find in the description box under the videos. So first, Eva, welcome. You look absolutely amazing. And I know you've been traveling around in Dubai. Before we start talking about Dubai, what is autobiographical memory in cognitive robotics?
Well, hello, Didi. It's so nice to be here with you and, to start these very, let's say, fascinating conversations that you always bring, to our group and, beyond our group to all of your fellowship, which is actually huge and growing. And so this is the subject of this paper refers to memory. So basically the idea of having autocognition, being aware of oneself, and how do you achieve that? So, there is a conversation going on, is artificial intelligence intelligent? And obviously the usual answer is absolutely not. Artificial
Yeah.
intelligence is not intelligent, it's just, let's say, a programming that provides responses to questions. So the trainers who create algorithms, they train a machine on a specific way according to the objective of that machine, right? So the question that the paper is posing is, could we really have artificial intelligence that is intelligent? And intelligent refers to human intelligence. So when we are talking about truly intelligent, we are just comparing, let's say, man-made system intelligence to real biological intelligence, So this is basically the subject of the paper. And the proposal of the paper is that blockchain technology can be used to provide some of the mechanisms that are necessary to have artificial intelligence getting closer to true human intelligence. So this is basically the subject. Obviously, in the paper, it explains why, what is it, what are the characteristics of blockchain technology that would help create the environment for the birth of a true intelligence. And it basically refers to memory and degrees of freedom, So basically, so that there is not one stimulus that provides one answer, but so that there is an stimulus which provides a memory or brings a memory. And this memory, let's say, gives the option of a number of answers, So it's not just one-to-one, but let's say one stimulus, and then processing of the stimulus, understanding, processing it, referencing it to some memory, to some events, some experience, because memory is experience in a way. And then the computer would make the choice of the answer, So basically it just talks about how this creating a memory through blockchain would help get intelligent robots that are more intelligent in the human sense of the concept, This is the proposal of the paper.
I was chatting to Joel Dallo the other day, and he exactly what you said about it's not really artificial intelligence. He calls it intelligent automation. So that's kind of more along the lines of where he sees it, and that made so much sense to me as well, because I've been playing with GPT chat recently, and I've been testing it out, and I've got a couple of books, historical books with factual historical dates and events, etc. And then I double checked that on Google, which the book and Google matched. And then I put a question into GPT-3 about this specific person, and it came up with information that was wrong. It was wrong
Yes.
locations, wrong
Yeah, yeah,
times, wrong dates, and I
yeah.
was okay. So these people that are using GPT, Chat GPT-3 to help them with their A levels and their papers and stuff are
Yeah.
possibly not going to get the right information. So how does it work in the respect of making sure that the information that it's getting is correct, and how do you feed that information into this decentralized blockchain for autobiographical memory and cognitive
Yeah.
robots?
Yeah. Okay. So these are very different, let's say, purposes. So
Yeah.
chat, this chat that we are talking about now, I say it's a tool, let's say, for lazy people who want to have somebody else do their job, right? So maybe if you want that, you don't mind if things are wrong, given that at the end of the day, this little artifice, this little machine is doing you a favor, let's say,
Mm.
in quotes. I tried to use it also myself just to see how smart it is, and I gave him a test that is
Yeah.
different from yours because I never have time, but I want to achieve things that I don't have time to work on. One of them is, I want to update my music awareness. So,
Okay.
it's not so easy to know what is going on in the music industry unless you on purpose dedicate some time to search outside what is your comfort zone, and what
Yeah.
is closer to your culture or what is playing in wherever you live and so on. So then I chose some songs that I really like. And I said to Mr. or Mrs. Chat, whatever it is, I said to him, if I like this song, and I like this song, and I like this song, please tell me which other 20 songs I should like. I was thinking this thing is going to make me a playlist of new music that I don't know. And the guy was even more lazy than me. He just gave me like 4 more songs of the same authors I was giving him. I said, what is this? So, and not only that, but I asked twice, and the answer was basically the same. The only thing he changed were the songs. So he
Okay.
says, of course, this is not the right answer. I'm just giving you options. Maybe these are not the right options, and gives me, a list of options. Then I ask the same question with different songs, and he gives me the same blah, 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 but just with, a set of different songs from the same authors I was giving him.
Hmm.
So I guess I suggest them become a little bit more sophisticated. I said, please do not provide me same author songs, or I should make, my question a little bit more refined. But no, this is not intelligence. This is,
This is
I
trudging
don't know.
through Google and just trying to retrieve information that it comes
Yeah,
across.
it's like a Wikipedia of
Yeah.
sorts, which I mean, Wikipedia is better than this, I guess, but
Yeah.
because it's more reviewed and whatever. But I guess maybe in time, it will progress and it will be better. I guess it's going to be um, good, which is bad in some things, which will confuse lots of people because they
Well, I
will then. Sorry?
Sorry, I was just thinking. I mean, because I think information retrieval, so it depends on
Yeah.
what information it's looking at as to what it's going to retrieve back to you. So it could be very biased on
Yeah.
that information that is being fed, and so actually, it could, yeah, it could be if the wrong because of the bias. It might actually not be the correct information. It could be actually
Absolutely.
really bad feedback that it's giving you that it's retrieved because maybe it's gone onto a website which is not very well constructed in the first place, so it's just going to retrieve what it sees.
Yeah.
How is the autobiographical memory and cognitive robotics, how is that different then? What is the
Okay.
differentiation between the
The
two?
difference is in the following. So this chat machine we are talking about is, let's say, a robot that has been fed libraries,
Yeah.
libraries of information, say plain information. They put the whole Wikipedia in the head, so in the memory of the robot, and then it has some instructions that when it hears this word and this word and that word, then it produces X, Y, and Z. So, for example, it's being told to answer long answers because it appears, or people think if you have a long answer, is more veridic there is more veracity to it than if you provide a short answer. So,
Mm-hmm.
there are some biases installed in that, let's say, flow of orders that this artificial intelligence mechanism has been fed to provide answers to you. Now, what we are talking about in the article is different, because it is the capacity of the robot to come up with its own answer. So you don't put the answers in his head. He comes out with the answers because of experiences that he has memorized. So say, for example, if you think when you were a child, much of what you lived in your childhood is who you are now. So I give you an example. I am from Madrid, and Madrid is very hot in the summer. When I was a child, they used to, let's say, how you say that, wash the streets every day. So with water,
Yeah.
and because it was so hot, the asphalt would evaporate all the water. So that smell of the evaporation of the water on the asphalt because of the heat is in my memory. And when I memorize, when this memory comes back to me, what it brings back is a bunch of images of myself in my home, my
Mm-hmm.
family home,
Yeah. Yeah.
in the balcony, looking down, looking at, all these men that were spreading the water, and they were sweeping the streets actually. And it's happiness, it's memories of happiness, of pleasantry, so you associate an event with a memory, with a feeling, right? So,
Yeah.
and this constructs my choices. So, because nowadays, if I am in the situation where I can smell this again, it makes me feel things. It brings memories, and these memories are associated to feelings, right? And then to responses. So, this is what we try to do in the case that we are talking about. It's not that you tell him, feel happy when this happens, is you feed him memories with feelings, of an early development stage of the robot, okay? And then the robot, who has many degrees of freedoms in making choices and in assembling, information, will eventually, develop its own answers. So basically, you think of memory and you think of intelligence as something that goes through stages, just the same as the life of a person. The intelligence of a baby is not the same as the intelligence of a 30-year-old person,
No, 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 no. Completely,
Exactly.
completely.
So
Because
in
obviously
our
babies
case,
aren't supervised.
exactly. So in our case, we go to that infant, intelligence. We say, okay, let's think of intelligence not as the mature person intelligence, but as the person who has still no
Yeah.
registries in his head. And these are the registries we will start putting in. So these are the seeds that we will put there to create a full-blown, let's say, or more full-blown intelligentsia over time. So basically, this is like the overall concept and an idea. Yes.
So how old do you think this is at the moment? What kind of level of stage are we at? Are we at 6 month old? Are we at like a year old? Are we at 2 years old? Are we at 7 years old? What kind of stage are we at where
Yeah, I
it's
think we are maybe in 0 years old.
oh, that's good. That's good. That's really promising for humanity then at the moment. Then. So we don't
Yes,
need to worry
yes.
about robots taking over the
Yeah,
world or anything because they're just
yeah, it's
babies.
very, very early stages, because even there is not a full agreement on how memory is built, and things like that. But if you think of people, if you forget about the standard intelligentsia that you're thinking about always, you're always thinking about of an adult who is smart, okay?
Yeah.
But if you forget that, and if you start thinking of people who are also people, and as people we consider them intelligent beings,
Yeah.
but maybe they're not at all intelligent. Some people are very close to vegetables, right? But still, they are people, they have their dignity, we consider them human beings, and in that sense, we consider them also intelligent, because there are some functions they do, even if it is breathing, which is a mechanical function, or even if it is recognition or a small smile. So that's my point. My point is that when we talk of intelligence or intelligence, most of us go immediately to figure out, the typical person that commonly, has a job and da. There are many kinds of intelligences, so we don't have to think of artificial intelligence in the sense, I mean, right now, what we would be thinking of a full-blown, high-level intelligent person. You can be specialized intelligence. You also know many people who are very smart in some things and totally, absolutely, let's say, moronic on other things. Or, people who are truly obsessed by memories that they live in childhood and they have lived all their lives through that and they have been unable to overcome, right?
Yeah.
These,
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
emotions that are created by memories. And you also know of cases of people who have been implanted memories that are not true, but they are fully traumatized by them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it's kind of a dense field, it's tricky. And I think the key is just to recognize the potential and start developing, in a, let's say, trial and error basis, to try to see what we can do and, and how to go about it so that we don't get also into trouble, which,
Yeah, because
I guess maybe,
these are quite
yeah.
big challenges, and it's not regulated as far as I know at the moment as well. So, like, sort of sitting. I mean, what do? You sort of sit down with people, and you kind of have a discussion about, how are we going to face all these challenges that we've got, and how do we kind of help to improve the accuracy of all the data of the storage and everything that's within it. So, I mean, at the moment, what do you feed it your own memories, or is it like, do you have biographies or autobiographies, because they're the kind of best things, I suppose, for being as
Yeah.
close to what a human being would feel and think. So how does that process work?
Well, I guess it depends on the objective of the robot. So, for example, nowadays there are robots that are fantastic. The hardware resembles really a
Mm,
person that shows emotions. And for example, they are being used in hospitals to pay company to people. And because they do resemble, let's say, a human being, the people who are sick and have this company, they react very positively to them.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So
yeah,
if I was building a robot that goes to a hospital, what memories I would put in his head are memories of compassion, are files that would help them identify problems in the patient. Say, for example, the patient suddenly starts repeating a word or drags his words, or I would just kind of train him in speech recognition to see if he has to alert somebody. So I would say it depends on the purpose of the robot.
yeah. I mean, it's a very good point that you picked on there, because loneliness is an epidemic within
Horrible.
itself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I know in Japan they're quite good on using robots for care and in hospitals at the moment. So I'm not sure about
Yes.
where else in the world, but yeah, I mean, that's a great example, actually, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. So, but what happens, for example, I mean, if the robot doesn't recognize something, what happens then if, say, there's a question asked, or the person, say the person's got dementia. I mean, are they programmed
Yes.
at the moment to be able to deal with that kind of thing, or is there a trigger within the robot that then would, send back information
Yes.
to a human
Yes,
being, and then
absolutely.
obviously, yeah,
Yeah. So the robot is not responsible, so obviously you cannot make the robot responsible, but he has some programs that help him recognize specific things, right? When there is a problem with the robot goes into the repair shop, and then engineers have to start looking what is not working and then why, and they have to refit it or restart it, or whatever it is, they have to do on it. Obviously, these are simple tasks,
mm,
and I guess there is a lot of progress in it. The robot is not there to replace doctors or to replace nurses. It's just to improve a situation.
yeah,
So
and it
it's
can
not
do
to
it can do the sort of the very basic care tasks that are needed, which then frees
exactly,
up doctors and everybody to do the more
yeah.
advanced. Yeah.
Just the companionship. I was talking to one of these robots in the last GTEx in Dubai, and I tell you, I can see how, people can get very confused because they are so, let's say, attractive as a personality. Suddenly you establish this relationship. In this case, it was a lady, and she
Mhm.
really looked like a lady. And we established this long conversation. And it was so pleasant, that you immediately start generating these feelings, yourself, that you are with a friend, and of course, in a way, this is a problem. But in another way, if you can use it for the benefit of people that, there is not another option, why
Yeah.
not? I
Yeah.
mean, if
No,
you
completely.
have old people in a hospital and their days are long, and suddenly they can have this nice chat with somebody, the robot.
No
And this makes
negativity.
it
It's just on a
better.
positive.
Exactly. There is a positive, let's say, impact on the mood of the patient, which means is better than before, right?
Yeah.
Anything that improves a condition, even if it doesn't cure it, is better.
What kind of medical applications are we using it for then? So we're using, companionship. Is it being trained in
Yes.
mental health? Obviously there
Yeah.
are robots that do surgery as well, aren't there, at the moment?
Yeah, well, these are, let's say, guided robots or robots that are with doctors and surgeons on time, and they just help the surgeon. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, robots are more precise. So you have these arms, for example, and these lenses, and and they have a level of precision, but obviously they are guided by the doctor. So they are there
Yeah.
with the surgeons, let's say collaborating, hand in hand together. In as far as the other robots, the ones that have their own capacity to transport themselves, the ones that go into different hospital rooms on their own.
Yep.
So they bring glasses of water. They bring, they bring you things, your tea time, your sandwiches. They can take your temperature. They, as we said, they have a speech recognition, so they can say, Mrs. Brown is not speaking as well as yesterday. Maybe somebody should come, or maybe she's very sad, and whatever, send alerts. So yes, this type of roles, this type of roles.
So interestingly enough, though, like in the UK at the moment, there was a NHS nurses strike a while ago, and we've got a teacher strike. So I can see that obviously there are applications within both of those fields. So do you think at the moment we're at a stage where this type of intelligent automation is going to replace a lot of those kind of care jobs, or because there is a big worry, in
Yeah.
certain fields that they are going to replace. How do you see that at the moment?
Yeah, I think, of course, they will replace lots of low-level mechanical jobs also, very repetitive tasks, very low-level tasks. I think people should not be afraid of that, because, these are tasks people don't want to do. They make their lives sad, and let's say, and people should be upgraded. They should be retrained to have other activities that are more rewarding to themselves. And that doesn't mean that taking the temperature of somebody is not rewarding, but if you have to
Yeah.
take 322 temperatures in 3 hours, you
Yeah.
go mad. And if you have to do this every day of your life, obviously you need to be thinking of something else to survive it,
So
So
that's
yes,
a
of course.
so it's
Yes,
a good way of saying it, because like really you're saying don't be afraid of it, because you can upgrade your own self and your own skills so that
yes,
you can actually live a more fulfilling life that you want to live, instead of
absolutely.
doing these really menial kind of tasks that are
Yes,
brain numbing.
yes,
So it's
yes.
almost as though it's a kind of fight of liberation for
Yeah,
the human
absolutely.
race in that sense.
Yeah. There is a very famous case, which I don't remember anymore the name of it, but, when we studied business school, you always studied this case. And it's exactly about the impact of repetition on the mood of people. People are not built for this level of repetition. So there is this one case in a manufacturing facility, a car manufacturing facility, and it's a team that is assembling. I can't remember exactly, so I'm going to kind of introduce things that probably were not exactly the case. But basically, there is this team who are building doors, right? And their game was to put something inside of a door, So because they had to do something to make it a little bit more fun, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
these cars were going with maybe, I don't know, banana peels or cans of sodas or whatever inside of the doors, because this was the joke they were making to each other every day of the week. Oh, figure out where did I put the can, I hide it here or I hide it there. People need to find a way to escape this routine, which kills imagination, it kills hope, and certainly doesn't bring the best out of most people. Okay, some
Yeah,
people,
yeah,
yes, they love
yeah.
routine and repetition and they need it, but most people don't. So I would say, don't be afraid. What we need to do is also use the robots precisely for education. Why couldn't a robot help teach skills? Of course they can. They can teach people to speak better. Um, many skills can be learned through the help of this type of tools. So you can learn languages, you can learn basic mathematics, you can learn many things with a robot helping you. They can bring things to you. The other day I was at a hospital and this robot was asking questions, what we like about the hospital, what we didn't. He also asked me, do you want a glass of water? He brought me the glass of water. I was very happy with it. And you don't need a person doing that. The person can be doing something that is more
Yeah.
rewarding, let's
So,
say.
I mean, what kind of other applications of it? I mean, I know, like, obviously there's GPT chat, yeah, and then there's all these art applications at the moment. So there's like Mid Journey and Dali and all these other ones. But I came across a couple of video editing ones the other day as well, which are really great AI videos. So instead of it taking me, I don't know, 9 hours to edit a 2.5 hour video and take all the sound, reduce all the gaps where there's no sound or take a cough out, or the AI can do it in like literally 5 minutes. So
Yeah.
these things are great because they, like you say, these are tools that can actually help you. So, we've got automation, we've got the medical industry, we've got, mechanics, car industry, factories, etc., supply chains. So, I mean, teaching, I mean, literally the potential is endless, is
Yes.
what we're saying, yeah?
Yes, absolutely. That's what I think, And obviously things take their time and they take it's a process, and improving things is a process. So let's us not think that, things are going to be perfect to begin with, but you have to aspire to improving, the tools, and you have to be of assistance if you can in this process. So
One of the things, obviously, is going to help reduce costs. Yeah. So,
if it's improving efficiencies and decrease cost, it means you will liberate resources that you can apply in other areas of the economy, because also, there are lots of statistics that explain that people who do these repetitive jobs, depending upon in which environments, but they end up with personal injuries, okay, in the
yeah,
body. So, for example, if
yeah.
you're in manufacturing facilities, all these repetitive tasks, they are horrible for, let's say, your arm, your back, your eyesight, whatever it is. So, one is that. The moment you start, obviously people get bored, they are less efficient, they pay less attention, but also their bodies are damaged. They might get depression or whatever it is. So first of all, you will get tools that do the job without all these side effects. It means you will be more efficient, and all these efficiencies will be liberated to put them back into the economy and grow the economy in other aspects. Yes.
Mm. We were talking about Dubai earlier. So I know there's loads of different conventions in Dubai about,
Yes.
like, because I mean, technology is really hot over there. And I know they do
Yes.
have a medical convention with all the latest medical equipment and everything. But there are also other aspects, like, there's the blockchain convention. So are you trying to branch out to reach out to more people? Or do you find that the blockchain
Uh,
conferences, the people that you want to speak to are kind of coming to you?
Okay, so what I try to do, because the problem with Dubai is there is lots and lots and lots of offer, So if you want to be out in 5 conferences every day, you can do it. And these are high quality conferences, and these are high quality people, and also people with a lot of drive. So I don't know if most people are aware, but 90% of the population of Dubai is foreigners. So these are foreigners that have been attracted by the leadership in Dubai, and the fact that the leadership is so open to the implementation of technology. So they are not talking about it, they are doing it. Okay.
Hmm.
So everything that has to do with artificial intelligence, with applying blockchain technology to all areas of government and so on. This is already happening in Dubai. Okay.
Okay, so what are the Dubai government using blockchain for at the moment? I mean, this is
Oh,
quite fascinating.
basically, I think everything. I think the only thing that was not so for banking payments, um, basically lots of stuff, lots of processes and so on. I think the one thing that was still pending were medical records, but I guess maybe they are already implementing this in some areas, maybe not in other ones. But
Mhm.
the authorities were talking about blockchain technology already. I don't know how many years ago, maybe 2018 or something like that. So, and they strive to make Dubai, let's say, a home for these technologies.
Yeah. This is where NEOM comes. It's NEOM. Am
Yes,
I pronouncing it right?
yes,
NEOM.
yes, yes,
So
yes,
this is like, I mean, there's about 4 different types of cities, and there's a
yes,
film studio, and there's lots of different projects. But I'm
yeah,
thinking the way that I see it is that these are going to be the smart cities, and this will be something that was fueled and run through
yes,
like blockchain technology and the like you say, the automation of the intelligent automation. Ha, like the scale of that is huge. So
yeah,
there is such a big potential as well for blockchain technologies out there. But what are the security measures that are being taken, to protect the data that's stored? Because this, it's scalable, it's massive in that respect. So the scalability of the data storage and retrieval is just,
yes.
beyond
Okay,
what we
so
can
so
even begin
yeah,
to think.
so what has happened is because Dubai provided such a strong leadership, other Emirates and other countries around the area have paid attention to it and are, let's say, rushing to catch up with the success of Dubai. Okay, so Dubai was, let's say, originally a leader in this, but nowadays other Emirates like Abu Dhabi, Sharjah, Ras Al Khaimah, they are all following on this lead, and all of their leadership, political leadership is, being very, very fast to find their own niche,
Yeah.
to grow some attractive features, to bring people and investment and so on. So you can see all of this effect, the effect of Dubai being so forceful in their development. You can see the impact all around. And Saudi Arabia, concurrently with Dubai, NEOM, of course, is in Saudi Arabia. So concurrently with Dubai, years ago, began the concept of NEOM. Okay, NEOM is I think it means new future. Is
Mhm.
a name that was actually, I think there was some kind of a bid. So they asked, they released the concept, and they kind of asked people to think what this would be called. And the name that was chosen was NEOM, which means something like new future. So the story of this NEOM area, which, as you say, is absolutely huge,
It is, yeah.
um, yeah, is that the crown prince of Saudi Arabia realized that petroleum was not going to last forever,
Yeah.
and also, he became very aware of pollutants and the need to turn all the industry into a greener space, So they began to concoct ideas on how they could be very active in using, let's say, recycling all the derivatives of petroleum products. So this maybe I'm wrong, but because I'm just talking of memory, I believe this was one of the first places that was being built. So it was an industrial concept on how you can reutilize all of these derivatives of the petroleum industry, And they began to create this city, these industries, around it, universities that were studying plastics and, I don't know, organic chemistry and whatever it was, and they were hiring people around it. And then they created this concept, which was called the Vision 2030, which is the vision that the Crown Prince has for the year 2030.
Right.
And he conceptualized a totally different Saudi Arabia that would be leading the technological development of the whole area,
So it's interesting you say, so 2030, the concept of
Yes.
2030 actually comes from the Saudi prince, and that's where it comes from. So
Well, at least,
WEF will
yeah,
talk 2030 and
yeah.
everything. So it's his concept. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. This is his concept, which of course other people might have also this concept, but this was published by him years ago. And they created different developments around the concept. One is this one industrial one, but then they have other ones that have, these are like tourism luxury complexes, so
Yeah.
this is an area that is right in front of Egypt, and they're developing, but this is well advanced already. So this is not theory. This is already well
Yeah,
advanced.
yeah,
You
it's
can
already
even see
happening.
the pictures. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the one part that has called the attention of many people is called the line. And
Yeah.
this is a
Now,
city, you heard about it, right?
yeah, well, I was going to, because I know there was Cinder. I think I'm going to probably say it wrong, but it's Cinderella, which is a luxury island destination, and that was in the Red Sea. And then there was Trojena, and I'm probably saying this one as well, which is in the mountains.
Uh-huh.
And then there's an Oxagon,
Yeah,
which was a blueprint for an advanced and clean industries. And then
yes,
there's the line, and the line is 120 miles long. And I
nice.
know they're building the foundations for that at the moment,
Yeah,
but it's kind of one of these, it is this kind of 1984 Brave New World, because it's a kind of utopian but could be a dystopian, because didn't you say like
yes,
about 5 minute cities? So they are, the line itself is quite wide from what
yeah.
I understand. So I think it's probably a mile. I don't know how long wide
No,
it
no,
is, but I know it's
I
quite
think it's
wide.
400 meters, something. The width is 400 meters. I think the
Okay.
length is 170 kilometers, like you say, 120
Yeah,
miles,
pretty much, yeah.
something like that. Yeah, yeah.
But it goes up. And his vision is to have like flying cars and 5 minute kind of
It
local.
goes half kilometers up, so it's like, yeah, 500 meters, sorry, half a kilometer
Yeah.
high. This is super high. Yes, and the idea, the concept is sustainable city that requires no private transportation, and the concept is creating neighborhoods where you can access every place that you might have to access within 5 minutes. So it has
Hmm.
high speed transportation. You can go, I think, it's from one end of the line to the other end. So the 170, kilometers. I can't remember if it is 15 minutes or less. I don't remember. Something huge, high speed. But then within your neighborhood, you are 5 minutes away from every place. So the doctor, the school, the bakery, the this, the that. So it's not, let's say, it's not, one level that you have to go horizontal, but it's up,
It's all,
down,
yeah.
exactly. So it uses like up, down, front, back, right, left. So it uses more dimensions. It's a city that has more dimensions.
Yeah.
Or cities today may have just the one dimension. It's but you don't use all these dimensions usually. If you have a
So,
city with low buildings,
so one of the things I thought was great was because obviously they're in the desert. So within the line, you can regulate the temperature, and there's greenery and everything. So you can regulate all that. And that's a wonderful thing. But the one thing I did think was, well, what happens if you just want to leave the area and go out to the desert? Are you, because
yeah.
you can travel up and down, but are you from your 5 minute area, are you then allowed to be able to go out from that 5 minute area through the wall and into, or do you have to go the whole width and breadth of the line to be able to go outside of the line? So
Yeah.
there's, but the regulation of the temperate climate within the line I thought was phenomenal, because I mean, I know in Kuwait at the moment, I think they get up to temperatures of 145 degrees, and that is, and another reason robotics is wonderful, because the robots probably would be able to cope with that heat, but human beings will have a real issue to be able to work within that heat level, especially if it's outside. I'm interested because you obviously know a lot about the line. So what's your
Well,
take?
First, I think the area where it is located is, let's say, it's not as hot, let's say, as maybe areas or some parts of the years in the Emirates that is hotter, let's say. But obviously, it's very hot part of the year. And
Mm,
the fact that you have some type of temperature control is fantastic,
mm,
so
mm,
so
mm.
this is obviously makes life easy, and you become much more productive if you can, because otherwise, you know people who live in hot countries, is not that they are lazy, is that if it is 120 or 150,
Unbearable.
basically, yeah, cannot go out, so because you cannot breathe, right? So first of all, people become more productive, and it's easier, and so on. I think the vision is that you can also enjoy nature, so you can get out of
Yeah.
the line itself, and that's why they want to preserve nature. So it's just fantastic if you see the sceneries, all along the line. You have mountains, you have the sea, you have the deserts. It's totally impressive. So the concept was also that regular people could live in nature as well, not like in
Mm,
a regular
mm.
city that, say, for example, you're in the center of Manhattan, you need to take a train 1 hour and a half to get to nature,
Yeah.
so the concept of the line is you also enjoy nature, and you
So
have this use.
wherever you look, there is beautiful
Exactly.
trees and greenery, and
or,
not
or,
just a
or or
concrete
desert.
jungle
Yeah, or
across
desert.
the.
Yeah, because I think
Yeah.
the greenery is built inside of the line, and outside is whatever it is. So if it is
Yeah.
desert, it's desert. If you have the mountains there, which are beautiful mountains, then and so on. By the way, there is also an area, mountain area, where they are building a ski resort, where you can ski all year round. So you have very imaginative people
Mm.
who are very smart, and they have, the let's say, the resources to gather the experts, and bring to life ideas that might
Yeah.
sound far-fetched to many people, and I don't know, probably not all of them will come to life, or they
Well,
will take their time,
yeah,
but
it's interesting because I mean, if you already live in a, like for example, the UK is, it's not too highly built up in specific areas, and you're only say 10 minutes away from the countryside, then it might be a bit mind-boggling because you've already got that opportunity to be able to go out to the countryside just 10 minutes walk away from where you already live. So but I myself, I really understand where it's coming from, because if you live in the desert, then just being able to live in a lush green area is something phenomenal that you've never been able to do before because you're in the desert. So I get that, but I do also get that some people are going to have a real issue trying to get their heads around it, in the respect of it wouldn't work everywhere. So if you already live in the countryside, it's not going to work because you're already there, and you're lucky enough to do that. But I also did notice, because one of the things I'm really interested in film, is that they do have this huge entertainment and cultural center as well. So I'm assuming that this would sort of be metaverse based. So how does cognitive the cognitive robotics help within the metaverse kind of side of things?
Well, I guess the metaverse is just one of the many tools that is now being used for multiple things. I have to tell you that in the Emirates there is a university that is artificial intelligence university. So it's not a department, it's a
It's an
university.
university.
So my point is that they are really looking into this, and they are putting their money where their thoughts are,
Yeah,
and they are years ahead. But I think you have to dream high. It's like when Kennedy said we are going to go to the moon,
yeah,
and then so many developments happened just because he set out a goal that was so far
yeah,
from what anybody could dream that was possible at the
yeah.
time.
So
And
are they?
nevertheless, yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Do you
It's
think that
okay.
the technology is actually a little bit behind of the ideas and the concepts that they want to actually utilize at the moment? I mean, does it is the technology has to catch up with the vision?
I think so. I think that, you have a vision and you have to create the technology to fit the vision. And if you have no vision, then you are just still with the sheep and the cows,
Yeah,
which is great, but you will always stay in the same stage. There will be no development. I think development is good. I think, well, I personally think, we are set to colonize other worlds. So it will take our time, but why not? We have the means and we have the dreams. So
yeah.
why not make it true?
Yeah.
So
Well, it's interesting you mentioned Kennedy, though, because the Americans haven't actually been back to the moon for a very long time. But the Elon Musk, whatever you want to
yes,
say, is obviously concentrating on getting to Mars. And going back to your paper, I mean,
yes,
Alan Turing was completely groundbreaking. And that was when was that? I think it's mentioned
37
about
or
1937. I mean,
37 or around there. Yeah, I don't remember by heart right now, but yes, somewhere around there.
well, that's nearly, 80, 90 years ago, really.
Yes, yes, yes. A
So
long time. Yes.
I'm interested in just going back to the paper again. So, was Alan Turing somebody that inspired you?
Well, you know that he is part of the basic, let's say, literature, and obviously he's like, I don't know how to say it, but like a stone. What he did is always referenced, is always thought about,
Hmm.
and because it was a obviously very special case.
I suppose, well,
So
there's the groundbreaking
yes,
for people who don't know, and I
exactly,
should hope that everybody does
exactly.
know who Alan Turing is. But during World War II, he was the English mathematical genius that actually cracked the German Enigma code. So I think that's one of the things that he's known the most for, because obviously there's been quite a few films made about him, Benedict Cumberbatch, etc. But the other
Yes,
thing was that I think in your paper it said that already in 1950 he was working on computing machinery and intelligence. So
yes,
yeah, so groundbreaking in that
yeah,
respect.
yeah. I think his famous paper is from the 50s,
So it
But
says he,
another
he
one. He has the one on computable numbers, which was 37. Yes,
yeah,
yeah, 37.
1937. So the fascination for me is that the fact that the Saudis are actually, leading the way, because, like you say, the oil obviously making them a lot of money. They've been able to put into new technologies and actually just spend that time thinking about how they can improve the life for their citizens as well
Yeah,
moving forward.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. This is something to praise. That there is people thinking how to make the life of their countrymen better, and to prevent problems that will happen in the future if you don't start taking action today.
yeah,
So this is something that the Crown Prince was talking about. We need to change Saudi Arabia economy because petroleum is not going to be here forever.
yeah,
And we need to teach our people different professions, and we need to have, different options, and so on. And instead of just, let's say, not doing anything with the revenues from petroleum industry, he's using these monies to create all this new economic development, which obviously will provide a lot of growth and benefits for the society. Yes.
So, do you have? Are there? I've not been to Saudi. I would love to go to Saudi, but are there already drone, man operated drones that, sort of flying drones? I've seen a couple of flying drones which
Yeah.
can seat men, so they're like taxis. So I think that's the word I'm
Yes.
looking for, taxi drones. Yeah. So are they already on in operation in certain parts as
I,
well?
I don't know. I've seen them, but I've seen them just sitting down. So basically, as exhibits, I haven't seen them myself flying. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I've seen them in movies, let's say, and I've seen them sitting there, but I have not seen anyone flying in front of my eyes or anything like that.
So because the reason I'm because obviously moving from petroleum and then looking at how transportation is going to work, etc. I mean, like a lot of things. So this is talking about electric vehicles. So instead of
Electricity,
solar, maybe electric. I mean, I going back to the line again. The line has got like a glass wall. So is that
yeah.
going to be? Is that something that will actually help with solar powering the internals and the inner workings of the
Yeah, I
construction?
don't know. I haven't read the specifications of the glass, Obviously, I am guessing, because this is also a question I asked myself, but I didn't really have the time to look for this specific material, or if there are any explanations about it. I am guessing obviously it's going to be used for temperature control,
Right. Yeah.
but it has to have very specific qualities, because this has lots of technical difficulties, but how do you put a glass that is so huge? So are there going to
Mm,
be smaller squares of it? How is it going to be set? I don't know. I haven't seen it, and I haven't found yet, but maybe it is there and I didn't look, well enough. I didn't find any explanation on how this is going to be set. And I
mhm.
didn't find explanation on the specifications of the glass. So I don't know what is the width. I don't know what is the color. I don't know if it has some kind of a layer, to protect from radiation, or
Yeah.
just prevent whatever. I really don't know. I've got some movies of the technical team. They have some Italian technical team working on that, and but I didn't go through all of them. So maybe they will talk a little bit about it in one of the movies. I really don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting, but like we're talking about this subject because where I am in Nottingham, there's a theatre and it's called the Nottingham Playhouse, and I used to work there and I loved it. But they had a sculpture called the Glass Mirror, and it's a
Uh-huh.
beautiful sculpture, but it's a concave glass mirror basically. But it was at such an angle that when it was a sunny day, unfortunately, it was frying pigeons that flew in a certain across the front of it. So if that was something that, and they had to, they had to change the angle of it
Yeah,
in that
yeah,
respect.
yeah,
The architecture and the engineering side of things, I can imagine, is absolutely mind blowing with all the different aspects
yeah.
that they can take into consideration. This also, though, I mean, your paper with about the autobiographical memory and cognitive robotics, all can it be trained on all of this kind of stuff as well? Then,
I think it can be trained on anything, because at the end of the day, a robot is a chip, with a
yeah.
memory and some instructions, and then you can load it with other things, so you can load it with arms and with head and with eyes, and then it has a different input because it has all these sensors into the world. So you
Mm,
can put some sensors for his nose, for his nostrils, ears, so the more you load him with gadgets, the closer you can bring him to the feelings, hypothetically, of a
mhm,
person.
mhm,
At least it will have, or it could have potentially, it could receive as much information eventually, let's say, eventually. And it could organize the information, it could create memories, potentially, yes. And each one of these technologies has the intelligentsia, and by the intelligentsia, I mean the characteristics that are required from it to fulfill its function, which at the end is you know, what is required.
So why the
So
blockchain? Is it because of scalability? Why put it on the blockchain? What is the benefits of putting it on the blockchain?
you mean why using the blockchain to create the
Mm,
memories?
yeah,
Okay, so there are some principles, to the blockchain, meaning that these principles underline the blockchain technology. One of them is computational logic, so you have a logic to things. Then there is the irreversibility of records, meaning you cannot change them. These are unidirectional orders. So, for example, if I initiate an action, say, for example, I give you £10,
yeah,
this has a direction. I cannot erase it. If I
yeah,
want the £10 back, there has to be another action initiated from you to me, right? So this is good. You cannot erase things. Okay. Then there is the distributed database. Then there is the peer-to-peer transmission. There is the pseudo-anonymity, and then there is security, Then, of course, you can use the smart contracts to keep track of the state of affairs and also to execute actions.
So if
And
at any point it comes across a problem and then it needs to go back to the very start and find where that problem is, it can do, because everything is still there on the blockchain. Whereas if it was on the internet, then it could have been erased. So it goes back to try and understand what those actions were and where it went wrong. It might not be able to, because a page may have been edited and changed and the information's changed, whereas on the blockchain it's immutable and it's always going to be the same set of actions and steps and the same set of information.
Yes, and also because you so for example, the memory and all of these inputs that you have, they are like discrete units. So it's one unit, another unit, another unit. They are encoded, they are stored, and then they are accessible. And this is very important. You have to be able to access these memories very fast, And for example, the Merkle trees, they also help because they help, let's say, organize things, to occupy less space, to organize the information in a way that is easier to retrieve, and so on. Okay. So it has many of the let's say basic structures, that we could think are necessary to build these memories in robots, and not only to build the memory, but so that the memory can be used in the right way to let's say to create some decision making of its own, let's say.
Because trying to get a machine to have memory, but actually emotional memory.
Yes.
I'm going to go back to GPT-3, but it's about Elon Musk. So I was having a conversation with GPT-3 and it told me that it was born and it had parents and it was living and it had feelings. And I was like, okay, but as far as I'm aware, you're just a machine at the moment and somebody's fed you information. And then it told me that it had a biological heart. And I was like, okay. And then it told me that Elon Musk wasn't human. And I cracked up laughing because I thought that was hilarious. But obviously it's the way, because it's programmed at the moment by humans, it does have a sense of humor, which is quite a naughty sense of humor, I would say, in one respect. So, the point of talking about that was is Elon Musk, and he's got the Neuralink. So is this one way that the artificial intelligence will be able to try and learn human emotion, is via the implantation of the chip in the brain? I mean,
yes.
Is that
okay, so I don't know exactly how the things that he's doing, I don't know how they are working exactly. I think if you believe you have emotions, then you have emotions. It's like everything. If you believe you can have memories that are totally fake, but they are true to you. And you make decisions as if these things were true. So if you believe you're a person, you might not be a person, but you believe you're a person. I know many people who think they are tall, and in reality they are short, or they are short, and then they or the other way around, or, once you're convinced of something, whatever democratic toll you take, and everybody else thinks the opposite, well, it doesn't change who you think you are, right? No. So I know that somebody was fired out of one of these big companies because he said one of these machines was intelligent, yes, and it had feelings or whatever, and the poor guy got kicked out. Okay. This is such a complex issue, and it's such a philosophical issue that I don't think we have to look for absolutes. What is it to have feelings? I mean, what is the value of the feelings? Is it more important a person who has feelings than one that doesn't? Because there are many medical conditions that will prevent a person from having feelings. But maybe they go by a code, a moral code that help them act correctly, or whatever it is, So I think it's just not easy. It's very complex. People look at it from different ways. We don't have all the knowledge of we don't know all the biology that goes
Yeah.
into constructing these things either.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of opinion.
Talking
Yes.
about music earlier, now to me,
Yeah.
I like creativity. So my background was the creative industries. And for me, a lot of that is based on feeling and emotion because, like, when you watch a play and you have to kind of get into a character and like a
Yes.
Shakespearean character, there are several different
Yes.
ways to play it, but you try and evoke an emotion within your audience. And like a musician, I
Yes.
always find that the best musicians of all, well, or at least the songs I listen to, are the ones when somebody's been in a really kind of difficult place and their emotions are quite deep within themselves,
Yes.
and they feel, they express. The way that I see lyrics and songs is that a lot of them are made from feeling and emotion and experience, and the
Yes.
same with art, classical art, the Renaissance art, and a lot of that to me is about having this human experience. I know that because AI can do music as well, and I've listened to AI music. Now the art I kind of find is a bit indistinguishable, as in because it's so good at producing art, it's difficult to know which is a man-made piece of art and which is especially when they say portraits and they're very human-like. But when it comes to music, I can always tell when it's an artificial intelligence that's made the music, because there doesn't seem to be that depth of experience and that depth of emotion and that depth of feeling. But as you say, how, I suppose the philosophical question is, what is emotion, depth, what is feeling, etc. But for me, that's how it's distinguished. It
Yeah.
comes out in music, and for me, music is a universal language that everybody can understand, and it does invoke feelings, emotions, memory, vision. If you listen to a song and the hairs stand up, opera, maybe Madame Butterfly for me does it
Yes.
sometimes, and the hairs stand up on the back of your arms, that's
Yeah.
invoked to me an emotional feeling. So
Yeah, but
what?
guess what? That is you, because you have that sensitivity and that sensibility. But there is other people that don't. For some
Hmm.
people, music is noise, and they are just not somehow, it doesn't get into their being. So,
That's an
and also, yeah,
because actually, to be fair, I've never actually met anybody in my life that
really.
isn't affected by music in some way. So that's a really,
Oh my gosh, there is
really
people who have
interesting
no
thing.
ear.
Yeah.
This doesn't work
Well, I
because
mean, I suppose the way that because I used to be a sound engineer, I know I've said this a lot. I was a
yes,
lighting engineer as well. I always like lighting better, but with sound there are vibration, so at least
yes,
you can kind of, there's vibration, and if you hold on to, I don't know, say you're sat in an auditorium and there's a live orchestra and you're sat near the speaker, you might not be able to hear it, but there's definitely a sense of vibration that you can
yes,
feel. So
yes.
that's there, it's feeling something that's actually well, the physical vibration.
Yeah,
So,
but
but
for other people might be annoying.
well,
So,
yeah, true.
yes, I've met all kinds of people. So, okay, so yes, absolutely. I think this is some quality you have, and most people have. And if you see children, it's very funny. You see so many videos, of children all over the world. You put music and they start dancing and interpreting, and it's just incredible. But you might also find people, cultures where music is not really a part of it.
Yeah,
And
it,
I don't
it
know, but
depends.
we can give ears to our,
Yeah,
to our robots, and we can put sensors, and actually, because of what you have said, because music is vibrations, vibrations can regulate moods,
Mm.
so you can always do algorithms that get the vibrations in, regulate the mood of the robot to a pleasant mood or to a hyper mode, depending upon the music. So these are things that potentially, obviously, you can
Yeah.
do, and
Well,
probably
there's
somebody are doing already.
I
Yeah.
had a conversation a while ago because there's a channel I watch, and I love her channel, Nikki. She's like ancient history kind of stuff. But we were talking about there's a gentleman, and I can't remember his name to be honest with you, but he does healing, and it's sound frequency healing. So this is something that could be programmed into the robots. So
Yes.
60 hertz is a sound frequency that will repair skin. So if you've got a gash on the skin, you can put 60 hertz to it, and that vibration from 60 hertz repairs the actual cut, the abrasion in the
Uh-huh.
skin. So this is an interesting thing that you've brought up really now, is because if you feed and obviously I've said this before as well about binaural beats and things, because this what it is brain wave um synchronization. So it's synchronizing the brain with certain frequencies so that you can relieve depression, or you could put your, loads of different, like induce sleep or induce happiness or induce vision, etc. So all of these things could be literally programmed into care robots to be
Yeah.
able to help healing in that
Yes.
respect. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. You see, so we should not be afraid of robots. They are tools, and they can do wonderful things for us. And this is what we should be focused. People have to live more fulfilling lives, and we should get people out of repetitive, damaging tasks, and let the robots do those, and bring better things to people. So we
This is,
can
of
do that.
course, yeah, no, this is a really good place to leave it as well, because we're talking about liberating the human soul, the human being, from all these horrible slaving tasks to give you back a fulfilling life that can make you happier within yourself as a
Yes,
person.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Eva Porras, you're a phenomenal lady. Thank you so much for coming on and talking about this. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, thank you.